It was a normal day for 11-year-old Timmy. He was on his way home from school, sitting in the back seat of his family's car, listening to music and daydreaming about the weekend. But suddenly everything changed. Hey there, Viral Videos here. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell. We post the most beautiful, amazing, and scary videos every single day. Let's proceed with the video. Timmy's parents were driving on a narrow, winding road when a reckless driver swerved into their lane, causing a head-on collision. The impact was brutal and both of Timmy's parents were killed instantly. Timmy, however, was thrown from the car and landed 20 meters away. He was unconscious and barely breathing when a passing motorist found him and called for help. When Timmy woke up in the hospital more than 10 years later, he was confused and disoriented. He couldn't remember the accident and he didn't know that his parents were gone. All he knew was that his head hurt and he was in a lot of pain. In the meantime, much has changed. Timmy saw things he hadn't seen before. He'd been in a coma for more than 10 years, so that's not surprising. Fortunately, the doctor and caregivers are very kind to him. That's just as well because there is a hard time coming for him. As the days passed, Timmy began to piece together what had happened. He remembered his parents and the car ride home from school, but he couldn't remember the accident itself. It was a blur, like a nightmare that he couldn't shake. But as the days pass and he becomes more and more awake and fit, more and more memories seem to come back. It's not that he instantly remembers everything, but little by little the story in his head becomes one. It was late at night and Timmy and his parents were driving back from acquaintances. Timmy remembers that the weather was very bad. It was very windy, and the windshield wipers could barely handle the amount of rain on the front. His father was at the wheel and his mother was asleep. Timmy can remember that his father was very busy and kept talking to him. To his mother, he simply could not talk, as she was asleep. Timmy remembers looking out the window and seeing two large lights in front of him. After that, everything went black. During the time he had been in a coma, a lot had happened. His parents, as we know, passed away. Timmy never got to say goodbye to them, which will be hard on him. His sister has since become the mother of 2 healthy children. In addition, she's been married for 3 years. His sister still comes to the infirmary almost daily to visit Timmy. She was unfortunately not there when Timmy opened his eyes again after 10 years. She is the one who does tell that his parents died. In addition, there are always his uncle and aunt who come by almost every day. When his sister and aunt and uncle don't know is that he told the doctor something terrible. He deliberately didn't tell them because it was too shocking. When he awoke from his coma, he told one of his doctors that his father had intentionally caused the accident. The reason why he will never find out. Timmy was in shock and struggled to come to terms with the fact that he was now an orphan. He felt lost, alone, and scared. He didn't know what was going to happen to him or who would take care of him. The days turned to weeks and Timmy was taken by his aunt and uncle. He was still struggling to cope with the loss of his parents, but he was grateful to have a family that cared for him. He started going to counseling to help him deal with his grief and trauma. Years passed, Timmy grew up and became a responsible young man. He graduated from college and got a good job. He never forgot about the accident and the loss of his parents, but he learned to live with it and move on. He knew that his parents would be proud of the person he had become, and that gave him comfort and strength. The accident had changed Timmy's life forever, but it had not defeated him. He had the support of his family and he had the courage to face the future with hope. Timmy's injuries from the accident were severe and he fell into a coma shortly after being admitted in the hospital. For more than 5 years he lay in a hospital bed, unresponsive to the world around him. His family kept a vigil by his side, never giving up hope that he would wake up one day. Finally, after 5 long years, Timmy's eyes fluttered open. He was disoriented and confused, and it took him a moment to realize where he was. As the memories of the accident and the loss of his parents flooded back, he let out a cry for help. His aunt and uncle, who had been his guardians since the accident, rushed to his side, tears streaming down their faces. They couldn't believe that Timmy was finally awake, and they hugged him tightly, relieved and overjoyed. As Timmy adjusted to being awake after so many years, he was in shock. He couldn't believe that so much time had passed and that he had missed so much of his life. He was overwhelmed by emotions and he struggled to process what had happened. He was informed that he had been in a coma for 10 years and he was unable to move his body completely. He was paralyzed from the neck down. He was devastated and heartbroken and he knew that he had to be strong and keep fighting. With the help of his family and the medical team, Timmy began the long road to recovery. He underwent physical therapy to regain as much movement as possible, and he received counseling to help him cope with his grief and trauma. It was a long and difficult journey, but Timmy was determined to make the most of the second chance he had been given. He knew he had to be strong for himself and for his family who had never given up on him. Despite the challenges, Timmy never lost hope. He was determined to live his life to the fullest and to make a difference in the world. He never forgot the accident that had changed his life forever, but he learned to live with it and move forward. He knew that his parents would be proud of the person he had become, and that gave him the strength to face the future with hope. As Timmy continued to recover, he was faced with the harsh reality that his parents were gone. The doctors gently broke the news to him, and he was devastated. He couldn't believe that he had lost them in such a terrible way, and he felt a deep sense of guilt for not being there to protect them. Feeling alone and isolated, Timmy asked the doctor to call his sister, who was living a few miles away. She rushed to be by his side, and Timmy felt a sense of comfort and relief to have her there. They cried together, holding each other and reminiscing about their parents. As the days passed, Timmy began to open up to his sister about his memories of the accident. He told her a story that was horrifying. He remembered being trapped in the car, watching hopelessly as his parents were killed. He remembered the sounds of their screams and the smell of burning metal. He remembered feeling like he was dying and thinking that he would never see his family again. His sister was shocked and horrified by Timmy's story, and she knew that she needed to share it with the world. She contacted a local news outlet, and before long, Timmy's story had become worldwide news. People were outraged by the reckless driver who had caused the accident, and they rallied around Timmy and his family. Timmy's story touched people's hearts, and it sparked a movement for stricter laws and harsher penalties for reckless driving. His accident brought awareness to the dangers of reckless driving and the tragic consequences that can happen. Timmy's story also brought hope and inspiration to people who had suffered loss and trauma. It showed that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for healing and recovery. Timmy's strength and resilience in the face of unimaginable loss were an inspiration to many, and his story would be told for many years to come. What did you think of the story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video and subscribe. See you next time.